3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
3, 2, 1.
Here we go!
Well, happy Friday, everybody. This is the DNA Show. Dennis and Andy. Oh, I should put us in the right order. There we go. I don't want my head over top of that crap Packers shirt. Blah.
Oh, my God. So early in the morning, it's like you wake up.
God. Thank God I don't have to torture myself this weekend by watching those losers play. Thank God.
Oh. Andy. It's morning. You should be happy, fresh, and thinking positive thoughts. Not how the Cowboys won't even get to see the Packers in the playoffs if they're bounced out by the 49ers.
Oh, you're hurtful. AJ says, Dennis, please adjust the thermostat while Andy isn't looking. I can't handle seeing you sleeveless this early in the morning. Funny thing, as you can see, Dennis is at his hovel and I'm at mine. So, he can adjust his thermostat anyway. I mean, it's Dennis's house. It's probably like 58 degrees over there. And he's like, oh, I'm sweating. It's so hot right now. Yeah.
It is 68.
Oh my God. My heat's blowing out at a comfortable 76.
Oh, so I saw AJ already had, about the thermostat. So it was funny. We got up yesterday. And I was up doing my normal stuff. And
God,
I'm like,
please specify when you say we. People think you're talking about you and I.
Oh, no, my wife, she came up. She goes, Dennis, it's cold in here. And I'm like, actually, I think it's a bit chilly in here. And I'm thinking, I didn't think much of it. So I just went around and did my stuff. And she got up and she's like, oh, my God, this is crazy. And I'm like, what? She goes, the thermostat says 58. And I'm like, did you say 58? That might be why I'm a little bit chilly. And she goes, did you turn off the thermostat? And I'm like, I don't touch the thermostat ever. You're the only one that fiddles with it. So I go walking over to it and I push it and I look, oh yeah, when she was screwing with it, she turned off the thermostat that night. So the heater was off. So yeah, we woke up to a brisk 58 degrees. Now you think that's the end of the story, but no. My wife's got a very large ceramic heater in her office. So she, of course, turned it on when she started working as she put her like 5 layers of clothes on, her parka, her snowsuit, and shivering, waiting for Andy's little weighted blankie that she could crawl under in order to do her work. And
so jealous.
I came walking in before I left and I opened up the door and I'm like, oh, this wave of heat hit me. I'm like, holy snikey. I'm like, this is ridiculous. And she goes, what? I'm like, it is so hot in here. I says, Andy's at 76 and there is no way. This is way hotter than 76. And she goes, no, it's not. And I'm like, she goes, it's still chilly in here. So I'm like, I'll prove it. And I got, the atomic clock. So I got one of the atomics clock with the thermometer and I set it in there. I come back in 10 minutes later and she's sitting here doing this. It's 83 degrees in her office. 83. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'm checking out. I'm out of here. So I left.
Yeah, that's too hot. Now, he says, I'm crazy, 68 in my house. Now, here's the thing. In my actual house, it is 68. I have to always emphasize this. In the office, I have one of those ductless systems on the wall. So even though it's set to 76, I need you. You should bring that over next time. It is not 76 in here. Now, I'm sure if I go over and put a thermometer under the main vent of the unit on the wall, it's blowing out at that temperature, but it's not 76 in this whole room because, like Dennis said, well, doesn't it shut off when it gets to that proper temperature? It would, but it hasn't shut off yet, which means it's never gotten to 76 in here.
Oh,
because it's a big
It's
room.
always warm in there. Look.
I know that's
83. I know. And my wife was still like, oh, it's chilly. So Hyper Kaiju, it is snowing there. But guess what? We can get up to 8 inches here in Charlotte tomorrow night.
Well, hold on now. I saw that, but that was in the mountains. In Charlotte, I think it's like maybe 2 to 4.
Well, the last one we just saw was up to 8 inches in Charlotte because Greenborough's 5 inches because my niece is on her way up for the big swim tournament. They may wind up canceling the 2 of the 4 days of the swim tournament.
Yeah, well, the good thing for us, 8 inches, is that a record in the Carolinas? No, I don't think so. Not in Charlotte. It was about, I think 2014. We got 7 or 8 because I live on a dead end and they didn't plow and it was just a mess. And that was back in 2014. And it is supposed to come, luckily for us, not till midnight Saturday night. So our con trip tomorrow won't be interrupted.
Correct.
Yes. And then Sunday, if we're snowed in a little bit, I told Courtney, I said, when we're watching football, we can just stoke a fire in the fireplace. And of course, I need to go out and make sure I have enough gas in the gas cans because we do have a portable generator just in case the power goes out.
Yeah.
Do you have a portable generator?
Yeah, AJ said my favorite thing is how everyone south of the Ohio River loses their mind. It's absolutely true. I actually have to go out, which is the sad part. I have to get gas today. And I'm like, oh my God, the gas lines are going to be long. There's going to be no bread, no milk, nothing in the stores. And I even said, I probably should pick up a couple of things before my trip because I'm gonna be leaving you guys for a little over a week here. I'm going to be down in Florida. Where there will
bastard.
be no snow.
And you break this news to me on a live stream? How dare you? How dare you tell me on a live stream that you're doing that? Hey, now you're what? Okay.
What'd you do?
I turned you back on, but apparently you're blocking your camera.
Oh, that's what you get for blocking me.
So one of the things I was also going to say is I used to say in my when I did stand up, one of the punchlines to a joke was basically because, like Dennis said, here in Charlotte, it's ridiculous. If it gets like an inch of snow, they will shut schools down.
Yeah.
And I used to do a joke where the basic punchline was, it's so pathetic here in Charlotte. They freak out over anything that if I want my daughter to have a snow day, I'll just buy a large icy from 7-Eleven and chuck it on the highway and they'll shut schools down. So,
yep.
I mean, that's
how I saw
sad
Hyper Kaiju was talking about Texas. I used to live down in Mission, Texas. And when we were down there, we were actually in church. My house was just a few miles from the border. My wife actually worked in Mexico and commuted back and forth over the bridge every day. And we were in church for Christmas, and all of a sudden, one of the kids from the youth group burst in the middle of service and was like, "It's snowing out!" And so the Reverend let us everybody out, and my God, it was massive snow. So it was cool because it was really heavy snow. I got pictures of my kids playing on the trampoline in the snow. But the snow stayed overnight, so everybody made snowmans and stuff. But for us, it was no big deal. We didn't understand what the big deal was. We're from Wisconsin. The kids down there, they had not had that much snow that actually stayed. They never had snow that stayed overnight in 157 years. So the kids that came in there had never seen that kind of snow. Their parents had never seen that kind of snow. Their grandparents had never seen that snow. That's why everybody was freaking out. I'm like, and we were there. We were living down there during it. It was amazing.
You know who doesn't freak out over mounds of snow? Hunter Biden. He just sniffs it right up.
And then can take you to work.
That's right. And sometimes it might even be Parmesan cheese because he's so doped up.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Jell-O powder.
No. No. He actually said that about Parmesan cheese. That's why I said it.
Oh.
All right. So let's get into the stuff for today. We're going to talk about Arc Athena by Eric Canete. And we're going to talk about Book of Boba Fett. First, we're going to talk about Arc Athena. We both got our copies. We can prove it. See, hold it up, Dennis. Look at that. We did not share. But unlike Dennis, I'm cool, and I got the big oversized artist edition.
He did.
In black and white. Hey, Warren, what's up? Thank you for joining. Hello. So the bad thing about this campaign is before we review the book, it's closed. So it's not in demand. So you can't get it. But eventually it's going to be on Eric's website, ericcanete.com, and you'll be able to get it there. So keep an eye out there for it. I did think, what the hell? Let's play the trailer. I haven't watched it in forever. So let's do that. Oh, that's a cool trailer right there. That is super cool. AJ says, I ordered the drop sketchbook. It's tremendous. If you're lucky, he'll offer it on the next campaign. Yeah, I'm going to hopefully they will. AJ, if you wouldn't mind, take a few pics of that and send them over. I'd love to see it. Let's talk about the book a little bit. Of course, Dennis covers the writing. I cover the art. I did read it and I enjoyed it, but Dennis will go more into detail about that part of it. Let's see. I got this in hardcover. It's going to be a 6-book set. It looks fantastic. Yes, visually, it is amazing. It is amazing. And I'm pretty sure he works 100% digital in the black and white. Obviously, the colors are digital. It is amazing. The color, the layout, the design. We'll get into it. Dennis, proceed.
Well, I agree, by the way. One of the things that I noticed, and Andy will talk more about the artwork, for those of you who don't have it or are viewing this later, so you can see it's glossy. You can see the reflection from my screen, but it's only in parts of it. So the background is all matte, which is cool. And then where the main characters are, they are actually glossy. And then
that's
on the back of it. And the back of it, it's the same thing. It adds almost a little bit like the Matrix effect, with the light, how they've got it rolling down. This hardcover is a quality piece. The moment I pulled it out, I'm like, dang, I really do like this, the way it's designed. And then the story is actually called Neon Gods, which of course harkens me back to Simon and Garfunkel or Disturbed, the Sound of Silence, where they talk about we created the neon gods. So the moment I saw that, the problem is I had that song stuck in my head as I'm sitting here reading it. I like the story. It's interesting. It's got a little bit of a feel of The Boys, in the standpoint that it feels like there's two different groups of superheroes. There's the boys, like from that show or series, where they're in front of the camera. They're the personification of being the camera. They're like the Justice League. They're out front. They do interviews. They talk. And then there's another group of heroes that aren't really talked about, and then they're down below, and they're taking care of the stuff behind the scenes, and they don't get the credit. Oh yeah, Disturbed version.
All right, I don't want to get a copyright thing, so I just thought,
I know you had to speed it up. So the one thing that I did, I'm going to show you guys, unless Andy pulls up the screen, where they list they've got a spot where they list the entire team. So, and I love this in a book.
Hold on, I'll get to it.
Particularly when there's a brand new group. Just looking where I put my glasses. There they are. So I actually got my contacts in today. So the group, that's the shot.
Right there, baby. This is one you're talking about, right?
Yep, that is. So,
AJ said, this is a funny comment. AJ said, my best friend asked me what it was about. I told him it's young blood, but good. Oh.
That is
I
good.
like young blood #1, but whatever.
I didn't mind it. When I was on the Image train for a while, like most of us, and they were different. They were unique. You bought it for the art, not so much the story. And that's kind of what it was back then. Yeah. But they've got a group. So Killer Performance is Sonic Scream imbued with Galaxian Summoner Rune, Singing Sensation, Divana, Hard Light Projection, Go-Go Gossamer, Telekinesis and Dagger Manipulation, Heavy Gun Havoc, Superhuman Strength and Agility via Cybernetics, Undisputed Phoenix, Growth and Transformation, and Scion Flamingo, Flight via Wings, Growth on Legs and Lower Back Alternative. So I love it when we get a shot like this and you get to see the entire group. He tells you right there what their abilities basically are. This reminds me of if you guys ever played like the Marvel superhero role-playing games or the DC role-playing games, where you had your characters and you had your stats and your particular power sets. As soon as I started reading, I love that in a comic. So anyway.
Look at that. He goes, F those guys, get to the Arc Poseidon team. Well, that's just it. The Arc Poseidon team, so this initial team is the camera ready team. I guess you could say, they tweet, they get on social media all about, look at me do this and blah, blah, blah. But then like AJ said, the Arc Poseidon team seems to be the real team, the real shit that gets down and gets dirty to actually take care of business.
Absolutely. And a matter of fact, the front team, so I didn't mention that, they list how many followers they have on social media. They don't say what. Yep, there they are. Yep. They're the ones that do the real work. The front team here, so it actually says Killer Performance. She's also a pop star and has 400 million followers. Divana's got 600 million followers. Go-Go Gossamer, 300 million. Heavy Gun, 120 million. Undisputed Phoenix, 85. And Scion Flamingo, 200 million. So it's all about reaching people, followers, being in the front, being the spotlight team. Again, it harkens me back to the boys. But I do like that they do it. And what I'm not going to do is give away a lot of the story, but the leader of the team makes a mistake throughout it, which creates problems. And she tries not to take ownership for it. And I really do enjoy the fact that she gets called out on it. You can see there's some strife going front. Again, very reminiscent of the boys. And it's the team that's in the background that basically there is to do all the heavy lifting, do what's necessary, and then the front team gets all the glory. All in all, I thought it was an engaging story. I liked the dialogue. I liked what they did. It's a lot of action scenes. So this book is not necessarily super heavy on dialogue. So if you're more like an X-Men guy and you love pages and pages of dialogue, I think you'll be a little disappointed.
Yeah.
but I wasn't, because
Well, and I think one
it
of the
told
things
a lot of
about
the
that is
story
when you
through
read it,
pictures.
it's Eric Canete. So sorry, Eric. His art is very powerful, very kinetic. Like you really get the feeling of movement going through all the pages. The color helps enhance that. Obviously, the panel layout design does. But the nice thing about not having tons of dialogue like that is, and just getting to the meat and potatoes of the story, is you read it kind of quick. So, you know, when you look at action movies and action scenes in movies, they go quick. You know, they're chop chop, you know, with the action. And then, you know, you slow it down, like in like the headquarters and stuff. It gets slowed down a little bit with the dialogue and exposition, which is great. But when it comes to the action moments, it really is, you know, like a movie, just really clicking you through. And I mean, his visuals are just stunning. His art style is, I mean, Eric's work is very stylized, on the edge of cartoony, and it just adds to that to the kinetic feel with the way his page layouts are and his design. And then the colorist of the book just enhances everything with the color palette he chose and whatnot throughout the book as well. I love theatrical coloring, which is, you know, there's scenes that are just bathed in like one color, you know. So, like, for instance, this panel right here, it's, you know, it's mostly monochromatic with purples and stuff, compared to just being, well, this guy's flesh color, his hat's red, his shirt's blue. I mean, you can see he's wearing different color stuff, but there's a nice overall sense with the purples and stuff, and they do that with each scene. So I think that's really cool as well.
Yeah, I agree. And he does a great job. Like I said, even when there's not dialogue, he tells his story through the pictures and the word. 4 times.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Drew Ford would never get along great with you, Warren. He never. Oh, come on now. Let's be nice. I appreciate that so much, Warren. Thank you so much. So yeah, so this is a really, really solid product. I love the hardcover. I love the spot varnish he did on the cover. It's giving me ideas. So yeah, it's really freaking cool. And
so
just
Andy,
to go
what are your thoughts on it being a hardcover?
What's that?
What's your thoughts on it being a hardcover?
Oh, I like it. I'm fine with it. You know,
yeah, I did too.
There wasn't any, you know, Eric laid it out really good. So there wasn't really any areas where things were in the center of the spread, of the spreads that he did, where you were like, oh, I wish this was a soft cover so I could lay it flat. He did a great job laying it out. And I mean, and even if it is a soft cover book where you can lay it flat, you really need to, and I see so many new artists draw stuff in the center of the spread and important stuff. And it's like, you know, for a single issue, you can do that. But once something gets collected, or if it's, you know, like what we do, most of the Comicsgate guys do with the square bound books, you can't lay it flat. Don't draw important stuff across the center of the spread. You'll lose it. So, and there it is. Back it for a 5th time. Thank you very much. It's possible. Yep. The book is the exact opposite of a Bendis written book. Yeah.
That is exactly right.
Eric Canete gets in, tells the story, and gets out. Exactly. Yes. And then I got the 11x17 artist edition. It's soft cover. It's really, I'm gonna full screen it real quick. It's really nice. Now, unlike artist editions where you have the word balloons and stuff so you can read it too, you know, those are the IDW artist editions, and that's because they scanned from original art, and back in the day the original art had the word balloons. In today's comics, it's all done digitally, so Eric wanted to do a true artist edition, no word balloons, which is pretty cool, because any good storyteller, you should be able to follow the story even without the balloons. I mean, you'll lose some details, But overall, I really enjoy this because, like I said, as far as I know, Eric does everything digitally, but you can see underneath the layer, you can see some light gray underneath for his original pencils and stuff that he did, and then he inks on a different layer. So this is just awesome. It's got the spot gloss. I highly recommend that when he puts this for sale on his website, you get it. It's priced at $50. It's well worth it. Let's see. AJ says, "Are you talking about gutter loss?" Yeah. When you do a 2-page spread, I was taught this, back in the Kubrick school. You don't draw anything important down the center of the spread because it'll get lost. Unless you can lay the book flat, which with a 22-page comic you can, you're fine. But the other reason you don't do it is if the pages don't marry up perfectly next to each other, you might have a little bit of shifting and the art will look weird. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a simple rule of thumb. Don't draw anything in the center of a spread. I see a lot of people do it and it drives me crazy, but I do not. So there you go. So there you have it. That is, so I guess we'll give it our grade.
Yep. Give it your CGC rating, Andy.
I give it a solid 8.5. I thought it was really good. I'm looking forward to the next one. I have a feeling after all 6 are done, he's going to probably hit us with a big hardcover, and if he does that, I kind of hope that to make it more enticing to the people that already bought the 6 individual hardcovers, I kind of hope he does it maybe oversized. And, who knows, maybe he doesn't even have plans for that. But if he's watching or if he sees this later, I would suggest doing an 8x12 oversized hardcover collecting all 6, because then you would get people like me to double dip and get it as well. So,
yeah, I'm going to show you guys one little thing on here. I was originally,
yes,
when I first read the book, I was going to give it an 8.0. I really thought it was solid. I enjoyed it, but I had decided to bump it to an 8.5. So Andy, you and I actually agree on this, because after the story's done, he goes through and, does it where you've got the characters and you can see the artwork. And I love that. And that is just it's an added bonus in the book. And it was a little more of a thank you on top of, you got the card and stuff like that. It's the little things. So because he did that, I'm actually also giving it an 8.5. I thought the story was fun and intriguing. And my rule, book number 1 of any comic you have to finish reading it, close the book, set it down, and go, damn, where's issue number 2? And I got that from this book. I really want to know what happens next. So Eric did its job. He got me wanting to see what number 2 is. So I can't wait.
AJ says, didn't you say you contacted the printer who did the artist edition? I did, and I'm just waiting to hear back from him. So I did actually contact the printer that did it. Eric told me who printed it. So I contacted him to get a quote. So I'm just waiting to hear back, and we'll see. So we'll see. And yeah, Hyper Kaiju, I agree. I love that feeling too, except for that long wait. But if going into like a Marvel movie, there's going to be sequels. It's the same feeling. You get done, you're like, oh my God, that was so good. I can't wait till the next movie. And those 2 years go by for a movie, and the next thing you know, you're in the seat eating your popcorn, watching the sequel. I have a feeling that Eric's going to launch number 2 this year, and when everything's said and done, maybe it'll be 6 years, maybe it'll be less, because he'll be able to do more than just one a year. We'll see. So
I'm looking forward to number 2. So get to it, Eric.
That's right. Get on it. Get on it. Get on it. All right. So now the Book of Boba Fett.
Well, we watched episodes 2 and 3, so we got caught up the other night.
I'm still waiting. Yeah, so am I, because I thought that was such a great idea. I love seeing books like that where all these creators draw their own characters, so you get all the different art styles on the one page in one story. I had a feeling it was never going to work its way to be finished. I think it's like 10 years ago now. So unfortunately, yes, it'll never be finished. So at least I can look at the 0 issue and 1, 2, and 3. So, oh well. Anyhow, Book of Boba Fett. I'm not a deep into the Star Wars mythos, I guess, as Dennis is. Overall, I'm entertained by the stuff. I'm watching it more because my daughter's all into Star Wars. If it wasn't for her, I don't know if I'd watch. I guess I would, because Dennis would be like, "We need to talk about it. Watch it." So yeah, we watched episode 3, and it's moving along. They still do the old flashback stuff. To basically every episode, they're doing flashback stuff to where I assume the last episode it'll be pretty much getting to the current, where Boba Fett currently is. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I'm liking what they're doing. They've got a formula on this, that's become apparent, and it's a good formula. They start out talking, here's what's happening today, and we do a flashback, and then we get pieced together. The one thing that they didn't do, there's always been a lot of questions. Well, was Boba Fett alive? How did he survive? There's all of these holes in time that we need to fill. And good for them on Favreau and Filoni for saying we need to tell that story. And it's a good way to do it is through the flashbacks. And it really is filling in the pieces that we want, and they're doing it in a way where you're like, oh, that makes total sense, versus shit, I have no idea. Why would they do that? That makes no sense. Everything they're doing at least makes sense. Now, I know there's a lot of criticism out there because they want, well, they're making Boba Fett less cool. Boba Fett has always been a really cool looking 2-dimensional character. Jeremy Bulloch, when he played it, and then you can go on and watch Under the Helmet, where you see the actual first appearance of Boba Fett and stuff. It wasn't even supposed to be Boba Fett. They repurposed the armor that they were going to do for like their super guards. And he just had this enigma about him, and everybody fell in love with the concept of the character, but not the character. So what they're doing now is actually turning him from a 2-dimensional, intriguing but very low on substance character to a character that actually has substance and meaning. And I like what they're doing. And I know everybody wants him to be out there kicking ass, being the best warrior in the galaxy, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it shows, there's glimpses of that, but he's wounded and he's still recovering. And I love how they're tying all of that in. So all in all, I think they're doing a good job. Plus, we get to fill in on Tatooine, because obviously he's taken over Jabba's the Palate, the twins. So there are going to be spoilers, FYI. We just can't kind of get around that. The twins, which are Jabba's relatives, come and basically want to lay claim. Boba's like, no. They tell him to, tread lightly. So this is all happening today. And then we start getting the flashback immediately to, with his time with the Tusken Raiders, how his journey from going from a captive, a slave, to becoming one of them throughout the next couple of episodes. It's actually very, very, very well done. It's a growth of the journey, because Boba Fett's arrogant and cocky, and the Tusken Raiders with their gaffy sticks utterly wipes him out. He can't defend it, but they teach him, and he realizes he's not as good as he thinks, and he's humbled, and he learns the right way to do it, and then incorporates all the lessons learned into the episodes, and winds up utilizing what he's learned on the plus side. They just do a really good job of fleshing out the character, the story, as well as the setting of Tatooine, which we've seen many times before. but never in the depths. In Mos Espa, and then we get into where he goes after the biker gangs, and we think it's the Tashi Station. So he shows up. He's actually like the guard for the Fett or the Huts. And yeah, Black Cashin, I think his name is. He's from the comic books. I remember him. If I had time, I was going to try and pull out the issues. He's a fantastic Wookiee. He's big. He's got presence.
He's from the new books, right? Not the old stuff.
Well, yes, and he's from the expanded universe, but from the comic books, and I think it was the first run somewhere around issue 20. So I remember reading him. I'm like, ooh, and he was cool in the comics. They do him justice in here. He looks amazing.
Oh yeah.
You know, and the comics flesh out his story a little bit better. But he winds up being a really cool piece. And anyway, the Fets are like, you need to, or the Huts are like, you need to tread lightly and sleep lightly because they're coming after him. But they do tell him, we're not the ones who sent the assassins after you. You need to speak to the mayor. So anyway, there's this intrigue, and Boba Fett's a bounty hunter. He's not the leader of a house. He doesn't have experience. They're two different things. Just because you're a big ass, a tough guy, doesn't mean you know how to run things. So he's learning, and it's a cool journey.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think the title actually, Book of Boba Fett, is perfect because to me it all relates to the flashback stuff. You know, none of the present day stuff relates to Book of Boba Fett. It's more about, you know, what brought him to where he's at today, kind of like you said. It's character growth, and it is. You can't just have him going around. I mean, I guess you could do every episode where it's like, and now we're going to hire you to go do this, but that's what The Mandalorian is. You know, every episode of The Mandalorian, there is an overall arc to each season of Mandalorian, but every episode is still pretty much he's a hired gun to go do something, and what he's doing helps forward his journey for the overall story arc. Where in Book of Boba Fett, like you said, it's expanding on all this stuff they touched on in the original movies and stuff, and just really expounding on his character and his backstory. And I mean, that's what I find interesting. And I do love all the flashback stuff because I love seeing, you know, how he's growing and whatnot as well as a character. And let's be honest, who doesn't like looking at, you know, basically 30 minutes of Min-Ya Wen? I mean, this guy does. Give her her own show. The Book of Fennec or Fennec, whatever.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yep. No, I agree. I like Hyper Kaiju's comment here. The Book of Back to Fett would be more accurate. It is, but I like what they're doing because if you go back, take a look at what he was when he appeared in The Mandalorian, because, you know, the dude is scorched. He's just a wreck. He's been through hell. Now the Tusken Raiders have him. You can see what he looks like there. The guy's barely survived. And I mean, he barely survived. He's hanging on with the thread, and he is nowhere near. Maybe he's 50, 60%. We're guessing right now. But you know, Boba Fett's nowhere near it. So he has to be in his bacta tank, sleeping every night just to recuperate, much like Luke did, you know, Empire Strikes Back. You know,
I like this. I've heard of no books in this show. No, they have not shown his library yet, and I'm getting a little annoyed. I expect to see it soon. Hyper Guys, you says Ewoks Battle for Endor better than this show. Damn. I liked how he escaped in the bounty hunter stories. Now that's how they should have done it. I haven't read those, so I have no idea. Did you pull a screenshot of those stupid looking motorbikes?
Couldn't find one anywhere. And
oh my God, that's the thing that annoyed me the most about this episode 3 is there's basically like this biker gang, and Boba Fett basically says, yeah, you guys are working for me. And they go on this, basically it's a car chase, and they're chasing a land speeder, which is actually, the design of that is really effing cool. But the bikes, each bike is a different bright candy color. I mean, literally, I think there's 5 bikes?
There's 4 bikes.
Four.
That's
and
why.
I'm like, it looks like fucking Skittles. I was like, these bikes stand out like a sore thumb in this Star Wars universe. And I get it. It's a Star Wars universe. Not everything, just like in real life. You might see a group of Harley guys and they're all riding the black bikes, and then you see the little Japanese crotch rockets, and they're very vibrant, different colors. But to me, it just stuck out like a sore thumb. And exactly, Hyper Guys, you nailed it. It was the Teletubbies biker gang.
So funny.
I hated those.
You guys are laughing, but when my wife and I were watching it, because she watches it with me, I laughed so hard as soon as I saw the bikes. I thought the characters looked fine, but when they showed the bikes, it isn't that I just dislike the design. I thought the designs were cool. That tells me they have money. They know how to put things together, but they're not hobbled together. These are like real production quality things. So somebody's very skilled. But the bright colors, I started laughing out loud. And my wife's like, what? I'm like, it's the Power Ranger bikes. If there was a pink bike and they had a 5th person and it was pink, they would be the Power Rangers. And maybe it would form into a giant Mechazoid.
There you go. Warren says he flew back in Slave 1 and pointed the engines directly down Sarlacc's throat and lit that damn thing up. Did he do that? Or is he just saying?
No,
I have no idea.
Yeah, he's just saying that.
Has Boba Fett fired a blaster once in this show yet?
No.
Yeah, I don't think so.
He's not.
The colors were idiotic. Not only did I think the colors were idiotic, but I thought the mirrors and stuff too. I just really thought it looked like if you didn't know that, if you just showed the bikes and cropped them so you didn't see that they didn't have wheels, they just look like motorcycles. They just didn't look like they fit in the Star Wars universe.
Well, that's just it. They didn't. And now the question is, did they just design them and say, let's put them in there? Or are they out there? And that is the only picture I could find without pulling screenshots.
And here it is, like these mirrors. These all look like things that were put, like everything to me I see in Star Wars, I think, yeah, that's stuff you wouldn't see here now. But these bikes I look at and I go, this literally looks like shit that was put together from a motorcycle junkyard. It doesn't look, futuristic, or I don't know.
Well, they're using mirrors, and they use it for a storytelling prop in there. So when the Pikes wind up showing up on the planet on Tatooine, it's kind of reminiscent of when the clone armies arrived and they're marching off, and you see all these Pikes. She's the dude with the bionic eyes sitting there, and I did a flashback to the Matrix when Trinity was waiting outside the building to see if Neo was coming down, and she's viewing everything facing away, but she's looking in the rearview mirror, and all of a sudden they realize the agents capture Neo and take him out, and she's like, shit, and she drives off. That is exactly what they do with this guy. He's viewing the Pikes coming in, see what's going on, and then he takes off and goes and reports to Boba Fett.
They look like scooters for the elderly at Walmart. They did.
They did.
So the lady has a purple helmet. Boba has orange highlights, coupled with a bike color. I imagine they can call it the LGBTETC flag rep. Yeah. One of the coolest things about episode 3, Danny Trejo, baby. When Danny Trejo shows up, I love it. The dude is awesome. It's just fun when Danny Trejo shows up. He's kind of like a Rancor trainer. He brings this baby or young Rancor to Boba Fett that the Jabbas basically gave him as a token.
It's a peace offering. They said, we made a mistake. This territory was already promised to another syndicate. So to make up for it, because war is bad for business, here's a Rancor. It's yours. And Danny Trejo, it's a cool entrance too. You see this huge platform being pulled up over the hilltop, and Danny's just standing there on the platform as they're pulling it up with the Rancor on there. And you could see him from a distance. And my wife loves Danny, and she goes, "Holy crap, is that Danny?" And I'm like, "It sure looks like it." And it was.
Yeah, he's great. He explains the Boba Fett that Boba's like, why is his eyes covered? The Rancors, and Danny Trejo's like, because at this age, the first basically human they lock onto, they'll basically have a bond with. So he had Boba Fett stand in front of him when he takes the blindfold off, and you kind of see through the Rancor's eyes how he sees and stuff, and the focus and comes into view of Boba Fett. So him and Boba Fett now has a Rancor pet. They're gonna bond.
Yep. Danny had a good thing in there, and Boba Fett's like, I want to ride him. That's what I want to do. So they're in trying to do it. Stephen Root, who you saw, he wound up being in the episode as a basically a water supplier that's actually cheating everybody out of it. And it's great because from a distance, you're like, is that Stephen Root? The moment he speaks, we're like, yep, that's Stephen Root. And he I did like the little things in there. But then they explain about moisture farming. And because everybody, even unless you read the books, you're like, why would they moisture farm? That doesn't make a lot of sense. Well, you're finding out why, in that Tatooine once was an abundantly watered planet, and then things went to hell and it all dried up. So you're finding out the history of Tatooine. And again, for those people that don't read all the expanded universe and books, they're at least filling in some of the stuff.
When I think of moisture farming, I think of the hot, humid summer days here in that area between my nuts and my butt, and it's very moist. And I think I could moisture farm from there.
So AJ says, I can't tell if you guys are praising or burying the show. It sounds terrible, but you seem to be praising it. You're right. The problem is
AJ, let me circle back. I'll circle back on that, AJ.
Yes. This show is like a pendulum. Oh my God, this is really cool. This is a great job. Oh my God, did they really just do that? Why would they do that? Holy crap, that's incredibly cool. That makes perfect sense. Why would they do that? This show is inconsistent from that standpoint. And The problem is we're looking at it through a prism of how we know Star Wars and what we think Star Wars should be. And all of us are different. There's this land speeder that he's in, which is kind of like a cool Cadillac version of, the newer land speeders. It kind of looks more like the ones from the Solo movie. So I'm assuming if you guys saw the Solo movie, they had some interesting looking speeders, kind of is reminiscent of that. But that is the only other picture I could find of the bikes.
I love the design of the car, for lack of a better word, that the dude's driving, because it's like Luke's land speeder was like the old beat up jalopy, which I love. I still love that design. That's actually a die cast I want to get. But I love the design of this one because it's more upscale, like a Cadillac. So I thought that was really cool. And going back to what you're saying, praising or burying this show, it's like Dennis said, every episode there's like a scene where you're like, oh, that's really cool. Oh, I really like that. But then there's scenes where you're like, that is such garbage. So it's really tough. And, I'll be honest, if it wasn't for the fact that we want to review it and talk about it for you guys, and that coupled with my daughter loves Star Wars and she wants me to watch it with her, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it anymore. I'd be like, nah, it just doesn't hold my interest enough to want to keep watching it. Like at the end of the episode, I'm not like, I can't wait till next week. I don't have that feeling like I do with other shows. Like the fabulous This Is Us on NBC. It's the final season. every time I watch that show, my allergies act up and my eyes start watering for some reason. It's weird.
Well, it's funny. You guys know I'm a Star Trek fan.
And see, I'm taking one for the team.
I am having to watch this, or I watch Star Trek Discovery. This is leaps and bounds better than Star Trek Discovery because it's just garbage. My only thing is Discovery is just unpalatable. It's just crap all the way through. There's nothing redeeming about it at all. Here, there's at least plus and minuses. So you know what I do to cleanse my palate? I go watch The Expanse. Final season's out right now. The Expanse has been absolutely phenomenal again this season. So I always have that to hang on to, but I am a Star Wars fan. I will watch this to the end unless this goes woke like the last 3 movies and crap, but at least they're not doing that. I do want to see what they're doing. I at least have faith in Filoni and Favreau that they're getting rid of all the Kennedy influence, and these could be good. They're not bad, but they're not great. And the problem is everybody's Star Wars expectations are that it has to be like the movies and that good. And that just doesn't exist. It just doesn't. Right. You know, we're going to get self-contained stories. Clone Wars was better than this, and Rebels was better than this so far. We're only 3 in, but at least I see certain things that I think they're moving in the right direction on. But I like The Mandalorian better so far.
This reviews make me want to read Arc Athena again. Well, there you go.
And then watch Dune, which this show harkens back to. This last episode particularly really harkens back to a lot of the Dune themes in the desert and what they're doing and how Boba Fett's deciding to stay and make a positive impact on the planet, just like in the Atreides.
Yeah. And I do need to start watching Peacemaker. I did watch Righteous Gemstones. I haven't got onto the 2nd season yet. But hey, I hate to do it. Taxi Man is here. I got to get my daughter to work. So thank you guys so much. Hyper says Star Wars peaked in the 90s. Right. Yeah.
So I'm going to give it, before we run, I'm going to give this series so far a 6.5. I think it's fine. It's not great, but it's not horrible. And there are enough good elements about it that I hope they continue to build on.
Yep. What did you give it? I'm sorry.
6.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right about a 6.0 flat up on it. So, you know, that's where I am. But guys, thank you so much for joining us this Friday morning for this review. We will be back next Wednesday. We're going to have Mike Barron on the show next Wednesday. So join us for that. We'll be an hour earlier to accommodate Mike at 4 in the afternoon Eastern. So Mike Barron will be joining us. Thank you so much, guys. And, you know, we will catch you on the flip side. And go check out First Man, link in the description below. If you haven't backed it yet, please like and subscribe to the channel. Here's the trailer for First Man. Bye, everybody.
Live long and proud.
Luke Henry, after kicking Monarch's ass to the depths of space, is back on Earth. And now he's looking to save the world from the Fourth World Foundation. Sure, he had help from Penumbra before, but she's not helping him this time. He's got to face it on his own. Look at these 4 people. He's coming for a villain known as Adonis. He'll do it. You'll be there. Back it now. First Man 2, Learning Curve.